You're listening to Oppositional Forces. Bad guys for good reasons. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are Oppositional Forces. Op 4 is here in the Rage Room today. I am your host, Scotty Don't. Join with me in the Rage Room is the last Jotun of the Frozen North, Mr. Frost. Say hi.
What's up?
And for the first time coming into us via phone is Mr. Valentine. Mr. Valentine, say hi.
How's it going, guys?
Welcome, welcome. We're glad to finally get you in here. You are a busy, busy bee. So being able to have the three of us evil, Dr. Evils in the house at the same time, we're going to make it happen here eventually. But until then, we'll just pipe you in and roll from there. So, Mr. Valentine, Mr. Frost, we're talking today about the gut and not the front ruck that is sitting between me and the table, but our intuition, our intuitive thought. And so we're going to be talking here today about understanding and building on what we talked about last week, which was situational awareness. And now we want to go into how to kind of hone and fine tune that information that's coming into us, and then how we're reacting to it. So a little bit of defining the terms. Let's talk about intuition. Intuition is defined as the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Mr. Valentine, you're actually really well versed in this stuff. Tell me a little bit about what intuition is and what it does.
So intuition is basically a gut feeling. So if you look at intuition, it's the cognitive ability of all of our five senses working in conjunction of the sixth sense. So when everybody says they have the sixth sense, that's actually your gut. It's not psychic. We're all born with it. It's whether we actually look at it and listen to it. On top of that, so where intuition is intuition itself, you have intuitive thought. And that is the thought process you put into the intuition, which is actually the body itself, so the limbic system that we pick up on subtle cues of the body, be it body language, tone, inflection, stuff like that. We all know this from birth. Really interesting kind of side note on this, with this mask system and stuff like that. Kids in elementary school and junior high, they're not actually getting the full use of the system in the communication because they cannot see facial expressions. They cannot see things that would be benefiting them. So, you know, I'm not going to get political on this, but I'm not for the math thing with child development because they cannot actually see this system in use. Now, we all take it for granted because we're older, and, you know, we talk to kids in school, stuff like that, and we learn these subtle cues of like, okay, is this kid friendly? Is this kid not friendly?
So
we picked up facial expressions, we picked up body language, stuff like that. Body language is good, but facial expressions is a big key fucking part of that shit.
So basically, when I walk into a room and I'm attempting to exercise my newfound situational awareness, what you're talking about is not only am I looking for maybe the exits, I'm not just looking for what the baseline of the room is, what sort of interactions are going on, but you're saying there's something deep in that. You mentioned the limbic system. For those of us that eat crayons for a living, what is that?
So the limbic system is part of our primitive brain. So if you look at the evolution of man and things going on, where we get into the prefrontal cortexes, which is basically why we're speaking right now and have cognitive thought. The limbic system is picked up before the prefrontal cortex, And the reason for it is a survival mechanism. It's not, it does nothing but survival. So when you look at someone's body posture, language, tone, inflection, the way they speak, stuff like that, for instance, most animals bare their fangs to show aggression, right? Human beings are the only species that actually show their teeth when they're happy, when we smile. So is it truly happiness or is it aggression? There's been a lot of debate in social science and psychology over that as well. So if you look at all these different aspects of it, we pick up certain cues from a audience that we're with, or if we're in a room. If someone's acting unusual, abnormal in like social science or psychologically abnormal, we pick that up pretty quick. And the reason we do that is it's a survival instinct. That's actually not our cognitive ability doing it. It's actually the limbic system, which is our primitive brain, part of our base brain at that point, saying, hey, this is unusual. This may be a threat or danger. So did we pick that up just basically on our brain at that point? Or is it the conjunction of all five senses?
Interesting.
So, you have touch, taste, all that stuff. We can get into like numerous senses, which everybody should know if they're listening. But there's just something that is off, that does not make the grade, and there's that one person in the room that's just making everybody uncomfortable. If you sit down and you analyze that, you can actually pick that up and figure out what they're doing that is causing you to feel discomfort. Now, me loving to experiment with people, I do this all the time. I'll change things up and just do certain things out of the norm that is not normal, just to see how people react, because I'm just that way. Because life's one giant great experiment to me, and I want to see how people react. So maybe I change my tone and inflection. So let's take dogs, for instance. So if you look at dogs, if you're like, you can say whatever you want to a dog in a high-pitched voice, right? And they're happy as hell. They're just happy as hell. You could tell them you're going to murder them and barbecue them.
And I do that all the time. I play with dogs and kids, and as long as I'm doing it in a happy tone, they're just as happy as can be that I'm saying something to them.
So that's the limbic system at work. Now, if you lower your tone, even if you're like, speaking German, ich liebe dich, and you're like, I love you, everybody's like, oh my hell, this person is going to kill me. No, they're not. But it's the tone and inflection that causes people to think that. And that's actually the limbic system at work versus anything else.
Yeah. So Mr. Frost, you had kind of an intuition moment yesterday, without going into like the fine details. Explain to me when you have that moment of intuitive thought. What is it that you do, and do you trust it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this will date the podcast, but I was going to, a Halloween party, and it was with a group of people that I've never met before. Somebody was bartending for this party, and I was invited. It was a house party. I got out of my truck, walked to the door, and like my spidey senses just kind of kicked off. It was like, what's going on here? And hey, I'll be honest, I got a little bit of PTSD. I got some anxiety. I don't like a lot of large groups, especially when I'm not in control of my environment, don't know my environment. And sure enough, I mean, I honestly thought I was going to have an anxiety attack. It was really kind of crazy, but I just felt this urge, like, this is not the place for me. Really not the place for me. Either one, something's going to get crazy, or maybe I'm going to get crazy. I don't know. I like that environment, and I just knew that it wasn't appropriate. It wasn't a place for me. I shouldn't be here. And because it's not like a paying gig or anything like that, I just turned around, went back to my truck, and left. It was one of those things like, hey, how do you avoid a situation? Don't be there.
Right.
And that's kind of how I treated that. But Any other situation is, perfect example for me being in Afghanistan. We were the second rotation in with 1-4, and it was one of those, like, you get that metallic, bloody taste in your mouth. It gets real eerie. Your brain just kind of hones in on everything. And it's like, I don't need to be here. I should not be here. This is not right. This is not normal. So I kind of took that same kind of feeling. I didn't have a metallic taste by any means last night, but it was definitely like an uneasy, like, this is not somewhere I should be. And I listened to my intuition, I guess.
So, Mr. Valentine, when Mr. Frost is getting all those tingles and jingles going off in his body, why is there such like a visceral physical response with our gut feeling?
So the visceral response, because it's so, like he talks about a metallic taste in his mouth. So anybody's ever been punched in the mouth knows exactly what blood tastes like, right? Now, understand the human body can consume, I believe it, 3.5 ounces of blood before they puke of their own blood. And that metallic taste that you're sensing, if you equate it to the psychological aspect of that, is danger. Okay? No one wants to taste their own blood. So,
well,
I mean,
maybe
most of us have been punched in the mouth enough. I mean, God, you guys know me. My teeth aren't straight. I've been punched in the mouth enough to know that, blood is kind of a bad thing. It's injury. It's risk of injury. So getting that metallic taste. So this is what's interesting about the human mind at this point. Now, was Mr. Frost at that point in Afghanistan actually tasting blood? No, he wasn't. But he was equating the taste of blood, which is danger, at that point of like, shit's going bad. Things are going to go really bad. So his brain makes that up and goes, hey, okay, we're going to give you a warning at this point. Gives that warning. There's that metallic taste at that point. There's a metallic taste. And that, like, kind of standing up on edge is because things aren't acting the way they should be. Maybe something was off. At this point, you go into that AO, and at that point you find out that it's like, okay, you have intel for this, and the intel is not right. There's things that are not adding up at that point. And that the body's saying immediate, hey, danger, danger, danger. As like I could sit here and psychoanalyze of, a party and asking questions of like, what did you see? What did you do this? What caused you to have these? And we could sit down and psychoanalyze and figure out what caused this initial kick in the limbic system to say, hey, this is a danger area. But that's not the overall point. The point is he felt the danger. Not that there was possible danger, that he felt the danger. And that's what we should be focusing on the most, is that gut feeling. You get physical predators, psychological predators. One thing they teach people that have survived people being narcissists and stuff like that. And sadly, I'm one of those people like to help, so I've dealt with a lot of narcissists. And you learn to rely on that gut instinct, and you don't doubt it. Because when you do, you get screwed, and it hurts. So you learn to hone that ability of like, okay, this is my limbic system reacting a certain way, and this is what it is, okay. And if you dismiss that, anybody that dismisses that is going to find out the hard way. It's going to end really bad for them, extremely bad.
So
because our subconscious mind picks up that before our conscious mind anytime.
So how do we start to I mean, because like any other sense, there's something to it.
Going back to the original thing, situational awareness.
Right.
Why is your limbic system doing this?
So it's not
why are you picking up these?
It's not just paranoia at that point. There's usually some sort of legitimate, specter in the room or that situation that your brain is analyzing, even if you're not conscious of what it's analyzing. It's saying, hey, I'm seeing something out of place. there's something in the air here that you need to understand is dangerous.
Yeah, and this has been in us for thousands upon thousands of years. It's actually what allowed us to survive. So if you look at about it, so let's take for instance, everybody's like fight or flight syndrome. Well, there's actually three things you do. It's not fight or flight. It's freeze, flight, and fight. Now, human beings, if you go into Darwinism, we were hunted by large cats, right? Large cats have visions based on movement. So the first thing you do, you stop moving. Second thing you do, you run your ass off because you don't want to get eaten. The last thing you do is fight. Now, the key to that is getting rid of that freeze and flight to straight to fight. Because let's go with Musashi's first principle at this point, which is he who attacks first wins. So if you go Musashi, that Book of Five Rings, you can look at it and go, well, if I'm not caught off guard and I'm not freezing or I'm not running and I'm fighting, you have a better chance of survival at that point, if that makes sense.
FYI, that's a great book to read, no matter who.
Excellent.
You need, you want to really kind of heighten your senses and get a real good idea of things. Read the Five Rings.
Yeah, it's a great point, because, we look at, if we look at some of these different disciplines, in a lot of directions, there's usually something there that says, and we talk about that a lot here in OP4, that we're not defensive, we're offensive. We're not here to, stack the wall so high and protect ourselves, from whatever may come. It's cheaper, faster, and easier to find the threat, identify, what that problem is and eliminate it before it gives itself an opportunity to grow and become something that's on your front door.
Well, that's the thing that gets me is everybody's like, oh, my security is impenetrable. Bullshit. With enough time, money, and manpower, I can beat any defense you have. You just got to give me that ability to do so. So that's that false sense of security of, hey, you know what? Like I have, let's say I have a team that's made up of former teams guys. Well, that doesn't mean I can't hire former teams guys and give them the time and the money to figure out how to beat your defenses. I'm going to. If I really, really, really want you to go away at that point, I'm going to. And the whole point of like we're talking about OP4 being the oppositional force is we have to think outside the box. So we go into a situation and think we have and you all know me, plan A to Z, 1 through 100, I have it, right?
And then A to Z
exactly.
for each letter, 1 through 100. It's very, very hard to plan something, Mr. Valentine.
The Dewey Decimal System is involved.
Yeah, don't say, hey, let's go to Thailand in 2 days, because
no, we're not riding the elephants without a plan.
Yeah, he has a meltdown. He literally has a mental and physical meltdown. Trust me, I've tried this.
Yeah, he has. So I have a plan for everything, but I will tell you this: I still leave myself flexible and adaptable on certain plans. So, okay, plan B12 doesn't work. That's fine. I have C14. Okay, but this is why I plan, is because I'm accounting for this. Now, to think that I can account for everything that's coming up, I'm wrong. Okay, that's just stupid. That's ego at that point taking over. And if you have ego and you think you're the biggest, baddest motherfucker out there, you can bleep me out.
Too late.
You're wrong. You're done. Because ego is going to be the number one killer. You need to understand that anytime you go into a situation, you automatically assume your opponents are as well trained as you, if not better.
Right.
And by doing that, at that point, you have to adapt. You have to.
And with one thing that should be in everybody's plan, and it's just like when you go on the gun range, everybody is a range safety officer. And if you ever see something that's unsafe, or something that, right, exactly. Everybody has the ability to call ceasefire, and everybody has to respect it when they hear ceasefire, regardless of who it's from. So even if you have, plan A through Z with subsections, 1 through 25, if at any point you come across something that you didn't account for or something that is not easy to identify, that gut instinct should be the thing that tells you, hey, you know what? It's okay to pull chocks and leave. We don't have to go to this restaurant tonight and eat. We don't have to, take this particular job. We've turned gigs down before because we've been sitting across the table or sitting in a car somewhere, and Mr. Frost and myself are saying, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. I don't like the answers that they're giving me. The money's there, but maybe the communication's off, or they're being vague, or there's so many unpredictable pieces to this that they're leaving those pieces in the box, and you're like, wait, hold on, I need to see what those pieces are, or I can't be a part of this. And your gut just says no. So it's okay to say no. It's okay to turn around and make that quick exit, because at the end of the day, it's your life.
Well, that goes along with, like we talked last time about situational awareness. Don't be afraid to be rude, because you're not rude.
Yep.
You're just protecting yourself. So you can be a jerk and be like, hey, I don't have all the information here and I don't like what's going on. So, I'm going to have to turn this down. You don't have to give them a reason. You can just say, no, I'm good.
Wow.
Maybe next time we can get a little more information. I don't have, the adequate whatever, especially with a job. I mean, perfect example, last week, I went up and did a job in Salt Lake, and I was told by the person running the job and the point of contact, hey, anytime throughout the night you need any information, don't hesitate to call or text me. And, well, what I was up there for, they essentially showed up and then left because they didn't have all the things they needed. And I tried to call not really all that late at night, and nobody answered me until the next day at 6:00 in the morning. So it was just like,
I didn't tell.
Don't tell me that you're going to be available. I understand it may be a slow reaction, but had that place or situation gone volatile, where are we at? You know what I mean? I have no support.
Yeah. And I'm not afraid, to make the hard call. One of the things I used to tell, my leadership in the Marine Corps is, I have the ability while I'm out there to make a judgment call, and whatever it is, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm going to stand by the fact that I was the one that was there. I'm the one that made the call. I'll take the responsibility for however the cards fall, but you don't get to tell me what to do and how to do it. Otherwise, you can pick up the ruck and the rifle and go do it yourself.
Extreme ownership. Shout out to Jocko.
Jocko, good old Jocko. So this was, I don't know, maybe I should change my intro, because this fucking thing comes to mind. It's like you've just been fucked by psyops because physical wounds heal. You can survive a fucking gunshot, you can survive a fucking knife wound, but if someone beats you in their head and you're beaten, you're done. Okay? Plain and simple. You've been outsmarted. You're done at that point. So it's really hard. It's like, okay, this is where listening to your gut is extremely important, because if you don't, it's like, I don't give a shit how well if you're a tier 1 fucking operator, if you don't have a plan and you don't have an exit strategy, everything's done at that point. So you go into planning these things, you go into missions briefs or anything like that, they always have an exit strategy. Always do. Why is that? Why is there an exit strategy? Because if shit gets above your fucking pay grade at that point, how are you going to get out? And do you think these guys just decide this, like, oh, okay, this this is what it is. Well, that information's coming in, and they get it, and they go, this isn't the intel we have.
Well, that's why
this intel is wrong.
Pilots and operators and things like that, they have different levels of SEER school in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And, even in the ABC groups that go to things like that, or certain MOSs that require SEER school, because, it's a psychological thing. You can make all the plan that you want in SEER school of how you're going to try and escape. You're never going to escape in SEER school. And they beat you down so hard physically and psychologically. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point, is to see where your breaking point is. You don't ace the class by giving whatever information that they have or anything like that. It's to see your breaking point, to see if you can last or you can handle, the extreme. That's, and it's more for self than it is in generalization of like your command or somebody seeing where you break. It's more for you to identify, the minute that they start separating us and making us sleep in the mud, or, doing the things that they do in SEER school, where's my breaking point? Am I capable of doing this? Am I capable of, just holding it together just enough to where I don't go crazy?
Don't see psychologically, that's the most important thing. So if you've already admitted you've failed, you failed. Okay, there is no coming back from that. So like you're talking about fears and stuff like that. Not one point in time do you want to admit your failure, because, and everybody's going to fail in SEER school. Everybody's going to, because that's the whole fucking point of the school, is what information are you going to give up? And they teach you at that point what information you're going to give up. The whole name, rank, serial number type shit, right? So what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to give up that's going to either, at that point, is it going to fuck up that entire op? Or is it going to just basically, are you giving up old information that's, in some cases hours old on movement, which you're still keeping those guys ahead and you're still keeping them safe. But what people don't understand is the biggest thing is psychology. I don't care how physically fit you are. I don't care what your mile is. If you're on a 6-minute mile, I run a 6-minute mile. Okay. I'm in great physical shape. I keep myself in great physical shape. If someone can outthink me, they can kill me. Plain and simple. So you have to keep your mind on point with that stuff. And if you don't keep your mind on point with that stuff, it doesn't matter your physical capabilities. I mean, Mr. Frost has seen how I shoot and run. I run and gun. I'm not a slouch. So
I am.
Does that really matter? Does that really matter at that point? Is that going to help me in the long run? Or do I have to defeat that opponent mentally and psychologically before I can even fight at that point? Because if I've already lost the psychological game, I'm done. I'm over it.
Well, I think one of the first parts of that is that intuition, like evaluating the situation before it becomes a situation. And you walk into into a room, into a building, and into a space, and you decide, hey, no, not today. That guy over there, the one banging his head against a tree on the other side of the park. You know what, kids? There's other parks. Let's go to the other park. Because he's not bothering me, right? He's not bothering anybody else. But how long until he stops whispering to the tree, and the tree tells him, hey, go kill that family over there.
Yeah. That family becomes a target of rejected at that point.
And maybe he's the tree guy. Maybe everybody knows that he's the tree guy. The cops know he's the tree guy. The park employees, the city staff, they know he's the tree guy. He's out there every day, banging his head, against the tree, whispering to the tree. Maybe he's never hurt anybody in his life. But I don't know. And something in me says, nah, he ain't right. Like, he ain't right. This ain't right.
Well, maybe he's
this is the other thing. Go ahead, Tyson.
Maybe he's banging his head up against, the tree, trying to tell those inner voices, no, I'm not going to go kill those people. No, I'm not going to go kill those people. I'm trying to knock it out of his head because he knows it's not right. But inside his head, it's making sense.
Yeah. And this is what I tell people. It's like, okay, so this person's been doing this over and over. So let's look at this way. Everybody runs off patterns, right? Me, I'm highly pattern specific. If someone does a pattern, I try to predict movements and what they're doing. What happens when that pattern goes wrong? So, like Mr. Foster was saying, he's banging his head against tree because he doesn't want to kill these people. What happens if you're that guy that day that just happens to set off one thing that sets him into that motion to create those actions? Now, we already know on a psychological level that this is not normal human behavior. So this not normal human behavior at this point is already keying us off and saying, hey, this is not what is acceptable, not only by society, but psychologically by people. So this is unusual. Why are we ignoring that?
Right. And there's a lot of things that drive that as well. Your culture, can be a big factor in that. We look at today's issues like terrorism. You see somebody that is acting outside of cultural norms, and it tells you that they are different or that they are other. And that's something to pay attention to, not necessarily in a discriminatory factor, but in an observance. You want to observe that a little closer. It's great that they're here, happy to have them. Maybe they're not familiar with all, of our local customs and traditions and things like that, but also because, they are exhibiting other behavior. That's still something that I'm going to file that in the box that says pay attention to.
This is what I tell people. Would you rather be wrong or would you rather be right?
Right.
If you're wrong, you can admit you're wrong. If someone's not observing, say, cultural norms or something like that, and you're like, hey, this is off, I'm just not going to do that. This is not single out any specific culture, but if things are acting a certain way, you're like, hey, I don't like this, and I don't understand what's going on because it's going against cultural norms and psychological norms at this point. And then you leave that area, and all of a sudden, a suicide bomber blows that up. Would you rather be wrong? Or would you rather be right?
Yeah. Would you rather be wrong, or would you rather be dead?
Exactly. So it doesn't mean you're an asshole. It just means that something is out of the norm. And when something's out of the norm, our body tells us this. We just have to pay attention to it. So if we go into the psychology, Myers-Briggs types, right? So you have Myers-Briggs types. I'm an INTJ. Tyson's INTP. Okay. I don't know what Mr. Scotty is. I'll probably make him take the test after this because I'm a plotter and planner. That's what I do. So I need to know where everybody is.
I like acts of aggression and
yeah, that's not the same.
Well,
but
it's not the same.
Yeah, psychological tests. They
psychological tests.
They either show up inconclusive or with like big red flags on the posting.
Well, it's the MBTI. We can go to the MMP, all the other tests that they do, but the MBTI, same with the Ingram test, shows specific psychological profiles and so on and so forth. I'm a judging perspective. Tyson's a perceiving perspective. Mr. Foster, excuse me. Probably should stop using our names, but
too late. Everybody knows my name is now Tyson. I
know. Tyson. Yeah. Fucking sorry, bro. coming from the planet, that fucking sucks. But there's certain things we do in our personality types. There's 16 different personality types if you go Myers-Briggs types out there. Ingram types, I believe there's, give me a bit, been a while since I've been in school, so I can't remember. I think there's 5 or 6 Ingram types. I personally like the Myers-Briggs types because they're used by NIJ, they're used by DOD, they're used by CIA, so on and so forth, to establish if someone's really going to be good at their job.
So a lot of this is based off of Jung psychology, Jung, not Young Young.
Yep.
So if you want to look up all those types, that's definitely where to go, is the Myers route for sure.
Well, I tell everybody to do the Myers-Briggs because it's going to show your strengths and your weaknesses. So you have your strengths of what you do, you have your weaknesses of what you do. Don't work on your fucking strengths. Work on your weaknesses, because those weaknesses can be used against you. If you take those weaknesses and you bring them up, you will have less weakness at that point, less blind areas to do it. Now, I'm mostly a cerebral human being. Empathy and emotion, very few people see it. My closest friends see it. Other than that, you could be bleeding to death, and I could be like, why are you stupid? And I will tell you exactly what you did that was stupid of why you're bleeding to death. I will have no empathy for you.
You will be putting your thumb in the hole, but you will tell them and scold them as they go along.
Yeah. I'm not a sociopath. I'm not a psychopath. You know, we get into the dark triad, which we could do a whole new fucking episode on the dark triad of what traits to look for in the dark triad. But I'm not the person that's going to coddle. Okay. People don't see that emotional side of me unless they really know me. I come off as very harsh and cold. But I don't mean it in a sense of being mean to people. I want people to learn.
Well, so, in a sense, you know, there's something there, you know, in the backdrop, something that identifies you to them and them to you. You know, you're being quiet and observant. I see that a lot with Mr. Frost as he sits in the back of a room and evaluates for the first 10 minutes before he says anything to anyone. But
so if I had to psychoanalyze you, Mr. Scotty, I would definitely put you as an extrovert. You like people, or me and Mr. Frost.
How dare you?
People. I'm sorry, me and Mr. Frost.
And that's the thing is
we are not a fan of people. We don't hate. We enjoy our personal time.
Sure. No, and just like we all do, there's definitely something. At least for me, the way that I react to my gut. You know, I listen to kind of those promptings to push forward rather than backward a lot of the time. I say, hey, which is what has really helped me in the past when I was working in investigations was, hey, this really doesn't sit right with me. I wonder why. And then I would go see why. Like, hey, you're weird to me. Like, please explain.
This is where the extroverted sense in you actually does you a great amount of service. Because I'm an introvert, which is I see people, I'm like, that's a large group of people. I want nothing to do with that. So I generally stay away. Now, extroverted, you guys love people. You want to figure out what makes them tick, what makes them work. You get your energy from that.
As I dissect them in my basement.
You're right. And but this is where you go, oh, okay. You've got that social ability that I don't, because it's like me. It's like I'd rather look at someone that's not talking on a slab and take them apart and figure out what makes them work. Where you'd rather talk to them and figure out what makes them work and understand that. And it took me many years of studying in school to understand that body works, how to take it apart and do these things, to actually understand how the human mind works. And this is where I fell in love with the human mind. And I started to really see the value of the human mind, not just physiology and, at that point, biology, and understand that the human mind plays a very big point in how we live our lives. And that's what honestly got me involved in psychology. And what made me go to school and stuff like that is because I wanted to learn this. And by learning it, I learned a lot of things. So originally, I studied a lot like SLA Marshall and different things, Jung, and I really wanted to understand, and honestly, I want to understand what caused people to cause harm to other people. Professor Jordan Peterson, excellent example, studied the atrocities of the 21st century, socialism, communism. We're not going to get political.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. Because I can go off on this for hours.
Start kicking people in the nuts with freaking steel-toe boots.
and file a suit against that point because of general damages, steel-toe boots. I get it. But, when you start understanding this, and it's like, okay, I want to understand what about another human being to hurt another human being. And then the more I researched it, years and years of research, I just found out it's in certain fucking people. Matter of fact, what people don't understand, it's in all of us. And this is what I try to explain to people. You need to foster that monster inside of you. When you foster that monster inside of you, understand you're capable of great violence and you're capable of doing great harm. If not, you're harmless. And if you're harmless, you're worthless.
Yeah, you need to have that level of fostering of violence, but be able to keep it on a tight chain for sure.
And if you don't do that, you can't save anybody. Now, me, I'm not really into dating history and stuff or stuff like that, but I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. Mr. Frost will tell you that.
Yes,
I am.
Yes, you are.
So, yes. I want to save everybody. So, I try to save people. And that's just the nature of who I am. So, it's nothing wrong with wanting to save people unless they want to save themselves. They want to take that time to actually learn shit for themselves and learn to save themselves. If not, if you're trying to teach someone situational awareness, how the limbic system works, how to use their gut feeling, and they don't want to learn, give up. You will drive yourself insane. You flat out will drive yourself insane. Because you have to be open-minded. And you have to go, okay, I'm willing to, this is what I've learned, this is what I've told, and this is what being a free thinker is. Just because you think you go to college that you're intelligent over everybody, I've met more people without a college degree in my line of work that are more intelligent than us with a college degree at this point.
And I think there's a lot of naivete that's pervasive, in our younger generations. They haven't had to really be confronted by actual violence, by actual,
hell no.
Heavy trial. Now, I mean, onesie twosie, absolutely not, taking away from people who have lived legitimate traumas, but there's a lot of people who live in their bubble. And we were talking about that a lot in the last episode where when we were talking about situational awareness, a lot of your gut instinct has a lot to do with your human experience, and as I was talking about culture earlier, tying it back into this, your experiences is what teaches and then develops that gut instinct more and more and more and more. And so the more everybody lives in this,
experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, exactly. So the more these people live in their bubble and become more and more unteachable, the harder it is to try to reach out to them and help them. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to do here with this podcast is that maybe there's somebody out there on the other end of this listening and says, wait, is that me? As they look up from their phone and suddenly see the world for what it is. I'm suddenly thinking of that scene from Equilibrium as he's peeling the window covering off of the glass and sees the sunrise for the first time. It's hard for people.
Interesting thing about that. So I actually had a personal conversation. I like to share this personal conversation, and I don't share much things personal. A coworker, I have a young coworker. He's 24 years old. Never grew up with a father figure, and he called to check on me to make sure I was okay over the weekend because we talked earlier. I dealt with a lot of stress. I worked for DoD, and just want to make sure I was okay. And he says, you're my stepdad. You've shown me kind of what it is to actually think outside of what he was taught in his generation. Now, all of us are Generation X here. Okay, we're the generation that'll light you on fire and not give a shit. We'll light our cigarette off for you at this point. But I think this younger generation of men are really, really craving that sense of belonging. And they're looking for it. And it's not being handed them in society. I think it's being stomped out by the supposed new cultural norms, but psychologically it's completely opposite of what's really going on. And they're having a hard time with it. We're older. We've experienced things, and I think these younger men are, where they haven't experienced these things, they're really looking for role models. And as older men, we should be those role models. We should show them, hey, you know what? This is life, and life's going to hand you some shitty situations, and you need to deal with them.
That's why I promote that whole masculinity thing and bringing back masculinity, because, I think that it's very important for, even if they're not your kids. I mean, you proving this right there of, you've kind of taken somebody over under your wing and kind of taught them, hey, this is how this is. You know what I mean? Like, this is who I am. This is what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. You and I and Mr. Scotty both are about manners. We're about being gentlemen. We're about, you especially,
It's toxic. How dare you?
Yeah. Especially with you and, those of you who have not or don't know who Mr. Valentine is, but eventually you will see pictures of him if you go through our Facebook page or if you go on to the website here. He wears 3-piece suits, but Mr. Valentine does some other things that you would not equate him to wearing a 3-piece suit when he's out and about. And, hence Mr. Valentine. He's that old school, definitely born in the wrong era look that, gentleman, nice suit, tailored suit, nice tie. He's got a vest on underneath it.
Definitely hide MP5 under because it's tailored. And people start to forget how well tailoring works.
What? No, we don't have any MP5s.
Hey.
No, not at all.
Not pre-ban at all. Anyways, but my point is that, that's an example of how bringing masculinity back is so important. And as you guys know, I can go down that rabbit hole deep and spat off names and things like that. But that's one of the things that I love about Mr. Valentine is that even though he's not a people person, the people that he does attract and gets to know, he will take you under his wing and he will essentially change your point of view. And if not, he will fight you 100% along the way, but he will still value the fact that your perspective is different than his, but he will find every imaginable way to try and change your mind.
You know, it's interesting, kind of tying back into what you were saying there, Mr. Valentine, about there more or less being a drought nowadays of proper instruction, good, role models to choose from. Mostly, I think it's because the media pumps out and props up people that are not good examples, that are not, they call them influencers, and that's exactly what they do, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's helpful. I pulled my kids out of school, and we homeschool exclusively. One of the reasons I did that is because there is a serious lack. There's a drought of. You were talking about, the mentors, but there's a serious gap in generational knowledge. Kids are stuck in a grade with everyone the same age as them. They're segregated based on age and ability. You've got your AP classes, your advanced classes, you've got the everybody else classes, you've got special needs and different blends with all of that. But when was the last time people encouraged the young generation to go out and seek the older generation actively? Go find a place, a resource where the old men are sitting around in chairs and just want to tell you everything that they've already picked up. Let them inform your lizard brain on, what the world is really like from their perspective, what it is that they learned over the last 65, 75 years, and then draw from that and then add that to your life. I don't think we respect anymore that generational knowledge. Everybody wants generational wealth. They want grandpa to leave them, a couple $100,000, and the old Gran Torino in the garage. But they don't want to know.
Yes, please.
They don't want to know what grandpa did to get it. They don't want to know what grandpa knows, or grandma for that matter, that informs them to be a more productive, a more helpful, a more advanced member of the society.
Well, this is what people don't realize is human beings by design, when we're ostracized, we freak out. Why is that? Well, it's simple. Human beings, if you're ostracized from society at this point, you do not have a good chance of survival. So that's still embraced in there. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, we can go to tacos anytime we want. Some people think tacos come from a taco tree. We're not even going to go into that. But that is the basis we live in. But if you look at the overall scheme of humanity, if we took humanity in a course of a mile, okay, how long have we been peaceful? How about your guys' guess? I'm an intellectual. What is your guess in distance of length that we've been peaceful? And this is actually a study done by Harvard and Cambridge.
Define peaceful. Define peaceful.
Not killing each other for no fucking reason, just because we can.
Well,
Never.
We have always been in conflict as a human race.
We were talking earlier, you and I, about the articles that are in open source reporting right now through Stratfor. There's nowhere on the planet that isn't in some level of conflict, whether it's the streets of Chicago, the jungles of the Congo.
So the reality of the human race is constant war. Okay, so if you look at human race and Western civilization itself, if you take in a quarter of a mile, we've only been peaceful for 3/4 of a fucking inch. That's our existence of known written existence of the human race. We've only been peaceful Now, this is a course for a mile. Okay, I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to be a fucking geek. You know, what is a mile? I'm going to 1,700, what is it, 65 yards, 68 yards. That is in a mile. 3/4 of an inch, we've been peaceful. The reality of the human race is constant war. And that's what most Americans don't understand, is that we live a life of fucking luxury, and this dream can end at any moment. That's why they call it the American dream.
Bodies.
Yes, exactly. Start cutting fences
have to
and do
beat
what's
that
fucking
whisper out of
necessary.
you.
You know, and that's what people don't realize. So when you're talking about the older generations, I mean, we're all older. When you're talking older generations, I was like, bite your tongue, bite your tongue, bite your tongue. He's calling us fucking old, and I don't want to be fucking called old. But, you know, you go back to the big generation of World War II, these people knew hardship. They knew what it was like. So for all you young guys out there, what is a pantry? This is my favorite. What is a pantry? Do you store food? Do you do that? Do you even do that anymore? And most of these young guys will say, no, I didn't know what the word a pantry is.
Yeah,
now, all of us being the age we are, we know what a pantry is, right?
Yeah, that's where the guns go that I hide from my wife as I slowly bring them out over time. Like, oh babe, look what I won. I won this.
Yeah.
I won this at a raffle.
No,
I guess this is good for me being single at the age I am. I don't have to do that. I'm like, I go buy a fucking $25,000 gun, and I'm just like, I bought a $25,000 gun. Yay me!
Right. No, but that pantry, it's a good analogy for what society has been up to for the last 20, 30 years. If you go to DC and you went into the kitchen of anybody who owns a studio to a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere on like Chevy Chase, they don't have anything in their pantries but tea bags, ground coffee beans, and maybe a handful of like last minute options like Top Ramen and things like that, and half of it's likely to expire soon. The refrigerator might have a dozen eggs that are 6 months old, some butter, and a handful of things they put in their coffee because they exist out and about, or they thrive off of Uber Eats and DoorDash and things like that.
They're going to look for the taco tree at that point. It's like,
hey, I like the taco tree. Don't knock my taco tree.
No. I'm not knocking the taco tree. Next to the shit breaks down, I'm really going to be upset when the taco tree doesn't exist. The biggest problem with the younger generation and not listening to the older generation, and we're all guilty of it, okay? When we were all teenagers, we did not believe our parents.
Why would we?
Not. We're like, oh, exactly. You're like, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want.
My parents? Oh,
and
they don't know what I'm
I will be completely honest. If I had listened to my parents, I'd have been way better off than if I didn't. And I didn't listen. I had to fucking, how do you learn? The hard way. That's how I learned, the hard way. And when my parents were like, oh, this is a bad idea, I'm like, I'm going to do this anyway. And come to find out, it's like that generational wisdom that we're talking about of these older men and these younger kids nowadays, which I really fucking feel bad for these younger kids nowadays. Holy shit. I'm looking at like the difference in gender, and one, they don't even know what fucking gender they are.
Okay.
And,
well, that's political spectrum. So
okay, I'm going to stop, but it's just, I feel bad for them in the sense of they're lost. So
I will agree with you with that.
They're lost, and where they're lost, they don't know where to look. So when someone that's older is willing to teach them, take them under the wing and teach them, I'm watching these kids thrive. So I'm actually a mentor for over 50 kids. And my whole goal is to grow them into great young men, good leaders for society, people that cannot be, I'm not going to say cannot be swayed, they're critical thinkers, and they actually take information in and say, hey, this is good for us, this is bad, and decide for themselves versus me saying what's wrong or right. I don't want someone that's going to regurgitate what they've heard. I want someone that's going to question me the whole fucking time. If a kid's like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with you. And granted, you know what? Those kids may have the best fucking value in their life at this point and be like, they have the greatest, they're altruistic and they want to help society, but I don't want someone to follow fucking orders. I want someone that's going to question me every point in time that's like, well, I don't understand why we're doing this. Well, why are we doing this? And I explain it and they're like, okay. And they come back next week and they're like, well, I got a question about this. Because that tells me they're thinking. Okay. The leaders that we have now, they just regurgitate facts. And they're not even facts, they're just what they heard. And that's what kills me. It's like, well, can we change that? Can we do that? But our public school system, probably the reason you pulled your kids out of public school, you're taught just to follow along and pull the status quo and not think freely and ask questions.
Well, and there's a lot of things that they miss out on, you know, like
yeah.
we were talking about. That.
As an educator, if you can't answer that child's question, what are you? You're not an educator at that point. You have to be able to answer that question. Yeah. I tell all my students this: if I don't know the answer, I will find someone that does, and I put all my resources in that point to find someone that can answer that question. Why? Because if it's above my pay grade, I want them to understand that I am not basically saying, "Well, I don't know." I'll find someone that does.
Right. And oftentimes, instead of people saying, "I don't know," let me find that out for you and get back to you, they say, "Oh, that doesn't matter," or "Why are you asking that question?" or "How dare you?" It's
a very dismissive answer,
right?
And it teaches people not to think critically at that point,
right? And so people should be they need to be out and about and trying to inform themselves and trying to find whatever information that they can from whomever they can, because the more that you build up that library of information, that library of faces, of tones, of culture, and understanding the environments that you can find yourself in, the better that you're going to be able to inform your intuition, and that gut, so that later on, as you go through life, you are walking around with a divining stick in your hand, capable of locating good and bad, with some pretty significant accuracy.
Yeah, and you have to be not afraid to offend. That's the biggest thing. Yep. Just because I don't like what someone says does not mean I will not defend their right to fucking say it.
No, indeed. Okay? That's the name of the game.
Socialism and communism, but I'm not gonna fucking say, hey, you know what? These people need to be silenced because I want to know who the socialists and communists are because I don't want to associate with them.
Well, and
I'm not going to try to cancel someone over their fucking beliefs. It's just stupid.
And to that, the famous quote, I may not agree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. It's like we don't have the freedom to not be offended. I'd rather listen to offensive speech than I would speech that I agree with, because offensive speech, you know what it does? It makes you think.
Yep. Yeah. You learn, you think, you evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're hitting that time, so we're going to take a quick pause to hit our promos. And with that, we're going to blow the door and get the hell out of here. All right, Mr. Valentine, thank you so much for being able to be here with us. Mr. Frost, as always, it is a pleasure. And now for our sponsors. Thanks, Mr. Valentine. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone, we're taking a brief moment to talk to you about one of our favorite sponsors. That's right. The Barber Collective is a Southern Utah mainstay, U.S. veteran owned with an elite team of classically trained barbers for you to get that dapper do, professional fade, or a cut on the wild side. Competitive pricing with walk-ins available. You won't walk out disappointed that you tried The Barber Collective. Call today and schedule your appointment. Mention Oppositional Forces and receive your first cut on us. You can schedule online at vagaro.com/barberco. That's VAGARO.com/BARBERCO. Or call them at 435-922-8454. That's 435-922-8454. That's the Barber Collective. Don't let that do you wrong. Go see them today. Check out our friends at Smash Labs Rage Rooms, a Southern Utah exclusive with franchise options available. You won't find another adventure spot quite like this. 5 axe-throwing lanes with a variety of edge weapons and their special Rage Rooms, where you and your friends can work out the day's frustrations by smashing TVs, home appliances, and all kinds of glassware, big and small, and an ever-evolving range of ceramic and miscellaneous items sure to thrill the senses. Call them today and schedule your date night, special event, or even large private parties. Visit their website at www.smashlabs.biz and check out all their special pricing packages, or call 435-359-2214. That's 435-359-2214. Walk-ins welcome. That's Smash Labs Rage Rooms. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Check us out online, www.badguyforhire.com. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. The links are on our website. And until next time, enjoy the world around you. Thank you for listening to Oppositional Forces, Wage War, and Stack Bodies.